In this third video, I want to talk about how we can take more charge of our own health, and particularly how we can assess our own health. In the last two videos, I've talked about how in the International Macrobiotics School we take a holistic view of health, including our physical, emotional, mental and spiritual makeup, and how these are all very connected. And in the second video I talked about the power of food in healing and creating a balance in our body and emotions and thinking. So this third video is a really important key in how can we assess our own health. If we're going to try different foods, different exercises, different approaches to life, how do we know whether these are having a beneficial effect on our health or not? You know, unfortunately sometimes illness comes out of the blue and suddenly hits us, you know, maybe even serious illnesses, you know, heart problems, cancer, ovarian problems, arthritis, you know, diabetes, etc. Is it possible to tell that those problems are approaching? To some extent it is. This is Oriental, over the last thousands of years, Oriental medicine, which hasn't had the blood tests and the x-rays and the more physical ways of examining the body, has built up a really interesting collection of different ways of looking at the outside of the body, listening to people to understand what's happening inside the body. And that then leads on to being able to make adjustments in our food, lifestyle, emotions, etc. to bring us back towards health, and then that can really help us prevent an awful lot of illness. Of course, there will always be illness, there will always be disease, life is not perfect, but at this time we can really greatly reduce our chances of developing a whole range of different illnesses. And this is very much what our teaching here at the International Macrobiotics School is about, to empower individuals to achieve much greater health. And if you do become ill, you have some tools, you have some means to understand what's happening and to know what steps to take to bring yourself back into health. So many different methods. These are the methods which I've been using in giving health consultations over the last 35 years to understand people's health, and they kind of work on two levels. So I'm focusing a little bit more on physical health problems right now. So if we have a physical health problem, that's come about because of a particular, in the Oriental way of looking at things, because of a particular imbalance in the body. There's something happening in the liver or the heart or the intestines. Something's become imbalanced, and so the first thing to do is to be able to see what that imbalance is, to be able to spot imbalances in the body that are producing an illness or might create an illness in the future. Then the second level is to understand what has created that imbalance. And this is where Oriental medicine has great strength, because it's really studied how our lifestyle, our activities, stresses, our food, the amount of sleep we get, the amount of work we're doing, all these different influences on our life impact the body and can create imbalances which may, if they become big, then create illness. So the great thing about this understanding is in preventing ourselves becoming ill, or if we do become ill, in then understanding how we can use the very same things, our daily lifestyle, specific exercises, changes in our lifestyle, adjusting to our work, our activity levels, getting more support, whatever it is, and changes in our food and how we're cooking the food to bring the body back into balance, and so that the symptoms start reducing. Psychologically, I think one of the amazing things about learning, I just want to give you a taster, in this short video. We study this much more in depth in a lot of our courses. One of the amazing things about studying these methods of Oriental diagnosis and all the knowledge underneath, it's very empowering. It takes a lot of fear away. A lot of people feel, when you don't know why you're becoming ill or when it's going to hit you, quite a natural emotion is to feel fear, because you never know what's going to happen to you or when. You may suddenly discover you have a serious illness. And it's easy to feel like a victim. You don't know, well, why me? Why have I developed this? No one in my family has this. Why have I got this problem? Why have I got to suffer? Understanding how imbalances happen in the body and the causes of those imbalances gives us the means to understand what's happening with us, and also gives us a tool for changing. For me, I think this really creates a deep change in our mindset, where we feel more empowered, more in control of our lives, and much less a victim, and much more able to control what's happening in our lives, which is a really good feeling. So these methods of diagnosis, which I'm using in my consultations, also many of them are very easy for people to learn themselves. And one of the things I've always liked about macrobiotics, it's drawn a lot from Chinese medicine, but the emphasis in macrobiotics is in empowering individuals, learning about food and health and Oriental diagnosis, so that everyone can learn to look after their own health. This is our objective, to really promote people being able to look after their own health. So in Asia, they became very good at observing and listening to subtle signs which reflected what's happening inside the body. So the various visual methods of Oriental diagnosis. So our posture changes. If we may have this posture, we may have this posture, we may have this posture, we may have uneven shoulders. Our posture is revealing what's happening inside the body. Our skin colour, we're all born with a certain skin colour, but whatever our skin colour, it can become more pale, more red, more greenish, more brown, more darkish, depending on internal changes in our health. And what we're going to look at today is some facial diagnosis. Different areas of the face are particularly related to different organs in the body. They're particularly affected by what's happening in different parts or organs of the body. So we can look at different parts of the face and understand what's happening in different parts or different organs of our body. We can also look at marks on the skin, the shape of the fingers, which can become bent this way or that way, etc. Then we may also touch the body to find out more what kind of muscle tone is there. We use back diagnosis. Different areas of the back reveal what's happened to the organs in the front. We can palpate the abdominal organs. We can feel our liver, stomachs, small intestine, large intestine, bladder, etc. to find out what's happening in them. Acupuncture uses the pulses as a form of touch diagnosis. Voice diagnosis. Our voice can really change according to our internal health. It may become very loud, it may become very soft, it may modulate an awful lot, it may become very at a very fixed tone, it can become very low, it can become very high. All these things are reflecting what's happening inside the body. And also we can listen to people, listen to what they're telling us about their health, about their sleep, their energy levels, about aches and pains, symptoms, mucus, urination, bowel movements, digestion, menstrual cycles, periods, etc., to also understand more what is happening inside the body. So it's great to learn, maybe 10, 15, even 20 different methods of diagnosis. And then, if something keeps showing up in lots of these different methods, then we know, yeah, there's a really significant imbalance here. If it's just showing up slightly in one method of Oriental diagnosis, then probably the imbalance is not so significant. So it's less exact than a blood test or an X-ray or an MRI scan. Those all obviously have their uses. But what these methods of Oriental diagnosis do, they give us, they can really give us quite a good sense of what is happening inside our bodies and the steps we need to take. So I'm going to give you just a few examples from a facial diagnosis. So different parts of the face. are particularly affected by what's happening in different parts of the body. This may seem a little weird, but I could go into a lot more depth, and I think there's good physical reasons for this as well as energetic reasons. So the tip of the nose is revealing what is happening, center of the face, what is happening in the center of the body to our hearts. So we all have different noses, but the interesting thing is that what we're looking for is how the nose shape and color and texture changes over our lifetime. So our nose may become more swollen and hard. So the texture, it can become harder and it becomes enlarged. The reason for this is that animal fats are getting laid down in the tip of the nose from eating a fair amount of meat, eggs, dairy foods, cheese, etc. And if we're seeing this in the nose, then most likely we're also getting these hard fats being laid down in the heart, as well, in and around the heart as well. So the larger, the more swollen, and the harder, more out of shape the tip of the nose becomes, the more we're suspecting a heart problem. Two things can happen. It may also become rather white. The skin may also become rather pitted. The natural pores seem to become enlarged because of the fat build-up, the subcutaneous fat around it. We may also develop whiteheads or blackheads, which are a sign of eating too many oils or fats, and then that's starting to come out through the skin. We may also develop hairs. Hairs are made out of protein. If we're eating a lot of animal protein, then we may start growing hairs out of our nose. So these are all signs of thinking about the last talk, overeating more yang foods. On the other hand, other people's noses can become swollen, but more red and soft and swollen. If we feel it, it's a bit more like a strawberry or a bit of fruit. This can be very marked in people that are drinking a lot of alcohol, but can also happen in people who are drinking a lot of coffee, eating a lot of tropical fruits, fruit juices, and other more yin foods. People with this more swollen, red, soft nose frequently suffer from circulatory problems. Very often cold hands and feet. They may feel quite deeply cold in the body because the action of the heart has become weaker, and it's not able to pump the blood and the heat around the body so strongly. So if we see this, if we see these, and really in Western culture, probably 90% of people's noses have gone through some change when you look at adults, because our diet is, rather than being plant-based, contains a lot of animal fats, sugars, etc. If you look at people who are eating a more traditional plant-based diet in parts of the world, you'll see very little changes in their nose. So if this really becomes marked, people with this kind of a lot of hardness, maybe whiteness, etc., much more likely to have a heart attack. Because of the coronary arteries flaring up. People with this swollen nature much more likely to get circulatory problems. If it really becomes advanced, they're much more likely to suffer from heart failure, which is where the heart becomes expanded and weak and can no longer contract strongly enough to pump blood around the body. So that's the kind of medical, what's recognized medically. So by looking at the nose, we can get a guide as to what's happening with our heart. I should just say, with Oriental diagnosis, we have to be a little bit careful how we use it. We shouldn't be using it to have a detrimental effect on other people. We don't want to go up to people and say, I can see in your nose that you've got some kind of serious heart problem. That is not an ethical thing to do. We might want to help other people, and we may ask whether they would like some kind of reflection. But we can't go around using this information which may be frightening or may be detrimental to people wanting to heal themselves. It may be sobering sometimes to look at what is happening with your own health. But really much better for it to be a little sobering and then to be motivating to make some changes in our health, as I've been describing in the other videos, to avoid getting these kind of serious health problems, heart problems in this case. So this is just a short video. I could go through other organs and different parts of the face. Unfortunately, there's not enough time to do that right now. But I hope this kind of gives you some insight into how we can use Oriental diagnosis to monitor our health and in some cases to prevent serious illnesses happening. So I use this all the time for myself. Sometimes it feels like I can see that my lung energy is becoming weaker. Sometimes my kidney energy is becoming weaker. And then there are things I can do to adjust my lifestyle and my food to strengthen them, and that way keep myself in good health. I want to talk a little bit about the kind of potential of this on a wider scale. So my personal experience of it, to give you just some practical examples, is this understanding has saved me so much suffering, time in bed, and expense. Before I got into macrobiotics, I think every couple of years I had flu. Typically a week in bed, feeling very miserable, then 2 or 3 weeks, dragging myself around, feeling somewhat miserable, still rather tired, recovering from the flu. And and in the last 40 years I've not had flu. I'm very grateful for that. I really feel that macrobiotics has been the main contributor to that, eating a macrobiotic balanced diet. And let's say I developed flu every 5 years, then in 40 years that would have been, oh dear, my maths is not working very well, so 8 times I would have had flu. So that would have been 8 weeks in bed and 24 weeks dragging myself around feeling rather miserable, which I've avoided. Amazing. Another real benefit I had from macrobiotics was when I was 24, I was beginning to get short-sighted and having to sit at the front in cinemas. And amazingly, over the first 9 months of eating a macrobiotic diet, my vision got a lot better, and I avoided wearing glasses, and I'm now 65 and I'm still not wearing glasses. And I think, and not only has that saved me several thousands of pounds in glasses, it has also saved me probably days and days searching for lost glasses, which I see various friends spending a lot of time doing, searching for lost glasses. So I also feel, I've been through some tough periods in my life. I've somewhat burnt myself out a couple of times. I've been able to recover my health. And I have really, really good energy levels, and I really feel that being able to maintain and good health has really added a lot of value to my life. On a larger scale, wouldn't it be great if this knowledge could really be widespread, nationally and internationally? I'm kind of dumbfounded and disappointed, that in this pandemic, that so little has been talked about how people can strengthen their immune system and help themselves to greatly lessen the chances of them catching COVID or developing serious health problems. So much energy and money and attention is being put into the vaccination program, which undoubtedly is having great benefits on a wide scale. But why aren't the politicians, why isn't medicine talking about all the things we can do to promote our health? This has now become really well researched in medicine. It's well known that people that have existing health problems, including overweight, type 2 diabetes, breathing problems, heart problems, are much more likely to get serious or life-threatening symptoms from COVID. Some recent research on the microbiome is showing that if we're eating 30 different plant species a day, that is, if we're eating a wide variety of different plant foods, as I've been talking about in the last couple of videos, our immune system is much stronger. So why aren't governments, why isn't the medical profession telling everyone to eat 30 different plant foods, to eat a plant-based diet? There's good evidence that sugar, regular consumption of sugar, has a harmful effect on certain aspects of our immune system. Why aren't governments and the medical profession telling everybody this information and encouraging people to dramatically reduce their sugar consumption, etc., etc. Eating green vegetables, and there's really so much that can be done to meet this pandemic, and also to meet any future pandemic, because the stronger our health, the stronger our immune system, the less we're going to pick up infections. And with this pandemic or any other pandemic that comes along, and almost certainly there will be more pandemics in this worldwide culture that we have, where we share everything, including our viruses and bacteria. Well, there are going to be more. How do we prepare for it? It takes a year to get vaccines off the ground. Why don't we improve our health now? I've spent 40 years improving my health, and so I feel in a good position. As far as I know, I haven't developed COVID. I may have done, and not had any symptoms. But I have little fear of developing it, because I've been preparing for this for 40 years. So wouldn't it be great if we were all doing this? And another item two items very much in the news right now. A few weeks ago, it was announced that in Northern Ireland, a quarter of the population is waiting to either see a consultant or to have a hospital treatment. And the news was, how terrible this was, that the waiting lists are so long. Yes, that is terrible. But really the true tragedy is that in a modern Western culture, that a quarter of the population of a modern country needs some kind of strong medical intervention. That is really sad and wrong. We need to wise up collectively that there is so much that we can do to look after our own health and promote our own health. Currently, what is happening right now, lots of reports of queues of ambulances, outside hospitals because the A&E can't get through people fast enough. A lot of people suffering, people dying because they don't get into A&E fast enough. Ambulances not able to attend emergencies because they're waiting outside. Yes, this obviously is wrong, and people are suffering as a result. But let's take the bigger picture. Why, if as a nation everybody or many people knew how to look after their own health better, there would be far less calls, far less 999 calls. There'd be far less pull on the national health system. And this is another solution that people don't talk about. So really there's a much brighter future, I feel, as more and more people are wanting to take charge of their health, for you individually to have much more control over your health, much more ability to maintain your health, to prevent health problems, to have more energy, have the best life you can, and also for us nationally as well to enjoy better health. So really the key to better health individually and nationally is education. And really that is what the International Macrobiotics School is here for. We want as many people to come as possible to learn how to take care of our own health, our own physical health, also emotional, mental, spiritual health. This is what needs to happen in this first half of the 21st century. And so there's going to be one more video in which I'm going to be looking at the steps that you can take to really, to really learn more. I don't want this to sound condescending, just to learn more about how to look after your health. Education is really the key to better health. So I hope to see you in the fourth video. Thank you very much.